Hello and welcome to episode 259 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Week 2 was absolutely crazy. We got a lot of guys that are kind of dipping off, a lot of guys that are rising. Nobody more so than you're rocking the Kyler Murray jersey. I got him on my shoulder over here. Man, we saw what he was able to do. You and I were hyping him up all offseason, and man, Kyler came out and balled out in week 2. I think the Rams are gonna give a lot of shootouts and give you opportunities like that. But I was very impressed with Kyler Murray. And Snoog, I think the window for buying Kyler Murray has closed. You and I have been pounding the drum since last February, but I think it might have finally closed.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler's fun, man. I got, just to show how low everybody was on Kyler Murray, I got this jersey on NFL.com for like $30 because the damn Cardinals organization didn't even believe in the guy. I mean, he's talented. He's an elite rusher. He's a great passer of the football. Marvin Harrison Jr. blew up in week 2. Should have had 4 touchdowns. Kyler literally would have had like a 40, 50-point week. I think Kyler Murray is a top 5 quarterback rest of the season. I thought he was a top 5 quarterback in redraft. He's my Dynasty QB 6 right now, right behind Lamar. I mean, he is damn good at football. And there was a time where you could get him in the 3rd round of startups, even the 4th, during the injury situation. Even this offseason. In sharp leagues, he was going, I took him like 201, 112. Like, he was going high. But in a lot of those casual dynasty leagues, I was seeing him slip down to, like, people saying they got him 210, 212, 209. It's like, he's elite, man. And I think that this Cardinals offense with James Conner, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride is going to be the second best team in that division, right there behind the 49ers. I think they're a playoff contending team if they can put it all together this year.
And I think this is your last opportunity to trade. And I know I've been pounding the drum for him, so I'm not going to be against this. But I think you're looking at Anthony Richardson and Jaden Daniels putting up extremely volatile games. You're going to see them be QB1 of the week, but then you're going to see what happened this week where Anthony Richardson, he still finished, I believe, as a top 12 quarterback, but it was ugly. I think this is the last opportunity you have to give up Anthony Richardson for Kyler Murray plus. I think Kyler Murray's just going to keep doing what he does a little bit safer. I'm not saying sell Anthony Richardson wherever you have him. I'm not saying sell Jaden Daniels, but in either situation, if you can turn either of them into Kyler Murray in any situation, if I can add a little bit to Daniels or get a little bit on top of Kyler for Richardson, I'm doing that because I think Kyler Murray offers the same level of rushing ability with touchdowns, but he can pass. And he's going to have that where you see the pass catchers, you see Terry McLaurin falling off, you see Michael Pittman falling off because these guys are not quite there with their passing yet. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out the rest of the way. But sticking with that quarterback position, who are some other guys that were rising? I mean, we saw some good weeks, we saw some bad weeks. This was kind of quarterbacks been the position where we're like, this should be stable, right? Like, this is who we know who they are. And then we're seeing some of these guys. I mean, Caleb looked absolutely horrible. Joe Burrow looked bad in week 1. We see Tua's out indefinitely. Brock Purdy has not put up elite level numbers. Dak Prescott hasn't quite been himself yet. Trevor Lawrence has looked horrible. Jared Goff has struggled. You know what I mean? Like, who are those guys that are rising up for you, and who are some of the guys to buy? Because I think quarterback position right now is really where people can make their money.
I think Dak Prescott's a pretty good buy low for just what he's done in the offense that he's provided around him there with CeeDee Lamb. They both just got paid. Cowboys always start off slow to start off the year. I mean, if you look at last year, if you look at the year before, it's been like that, especially with CD and Dak. I think Jared Goff is a great buy low right now. I mean, he had 55 attempts, touchdowns didn't go his way last week, but now he's got a more favorable matchup against Arizona. That could be a shootout game, but a weak defense that they could run up the scoreboard on. Touchdown passes are going to come Goff's way. He's like guaranteed 4,000 yards and like 25 touchdown passes. Derek Carr, another guy that I think is a very, very cheap good buy low for your Dynasty QB3s and 6-point passing, or a redraft if you just need a backup quarterback there to stash. But what Clint Kubiak has done for that Saints offense, they revived it. They brought back that old vintage Saints offensive look with Alvin Kamara looking lights out, getting him involved in the passing game, getting those run concepts down to point. I mean, that run blocking has looked phenomenal. Kamara's been just absolutely breaking a ton of tackles, looking great after contact, like he always has. One of the best body control and contact balances that I've ever seen in the sport. You got Chris Olave and Shaheed there with tons of speed out there. So I think Derek Carr,
It's QB2, man.
He might have a tough game next week against Philly, but I mean their defense just let Kirk Cousins do some damage to them a little bit, and they're young. That defense is going to be a lot better towards the middle to the end of the season. So I think if there's any week for Derek Carr to do decent against them, it's this week. I think Kamara has another big week, but those three quarterbacks I think are just good cheap buys at the moment. I think CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, guys like that are going to start to really put things together, and when there's shootouts and favorable matchups, they're going to light up the scoreboard. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Brock Purdy, another guy that has been just not going good. I think he'll start to figure his stuff out as well. I mean, Kittle through the moon. Ayuk's going to get a ton of opportunity now. So a lot of stuff happening. I mean, we saw that stat, 48% of defenses are starting to run that too high formation and that concept on defense. Quarterbacks are struggling. It's the run game up the moon.
Yeah.
They're
the run game's been crazy.
Passing game down, covering deep. Like Worthy freaking out there with a safety over the top and a corner on him every play. It's just what the teams are going to do now. So running backs are back to life. I think the quarterbacks are going to start to figure things out, and offensive coordinators are going to need to adjust concepts and schemes, but I'm excited. I think that this is going to be a big year, and I know quarterbacks are really struggling right now other than Josh Allen and Kyler Murray.
That's a great point. I want to talk real quick about some wide receivers. Then I want to really hit those running backs because we just did an entire show on your wide receiver top 12. We only have 11 foundational wide receivers, but we have 9 guys that are ascending towards that area. You mentioned Jared Goff. Jamison Williams, week 1, 9 targets, over 100 yards and a touchdown. A man does it again. Okay. So now we're looking at 2 straight weeks. He's at 38.8 fantasy points, 6th in the NFL right now. I mean, it's Godwin 1, Nico, Neighbors, Kupp, Jefferson, then J-Mo. And the biggest thing is that I'm starting to see from this is if this is Jamison Williams' year, Sam Laporta year is over. This is not an offense that I think is going to support 3 guys plus Gibbs plus Monty. I don't think there's 5 guys that can eat on this offense. And if it is J-Mo really ascending this way without an injury to someone else, Sam Laporta is a bit of a sell for me. I mean, you and I have had him as a sell for a couple of months to get Bowers plus. Yeah. I saw one of the guys in the Patreon got Bowers straight up for Laporta. That window is going to close real soon because Bowers is the focal point of the Raiders offense. Sam Laporta is no longer that guy if J-Mo is going to put up numbers like this.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just look at Jahmyr Gibbs, too, 11 receptions through 2 weeks, that's not going to stop. That's going to continue. They're starting to get him more and more involved. I mean, we'll talk about Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit when we get into the running backs, but Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Gibbs, Laporta, it was always Brock Bowers, tight end 1 overall in Dynasty season, and I know we
didn't say it early enough. You know what I mean? We should have just went up with it right off the bat.
We said it to each
other.
We
were making the deals.
We should have went public for it.
But J-Mo has gone to me from a late second in the offseason to a mid-second after week 1. And Snoog, I'm ready to pay. I'm ready to say he's worth an early second right now. I don't think it's going to be. If we see a third week of this, man, we're going to see Jamison Williams going for 26 first. I think it's going to happen.
If you can get that, I'm doing that.
Oh, yeah, but I think it's going to happen.
Fun player on a great offense. Love him. He's super fun to watch. He's going to unlock that Lions team to be a true Super Bowl contender, I think, this year, if he's healthy. But just the injury concerns, the volume concerns, I know the first 2 weeks just absolutely kicks that to the side, but I want to see it for more than 2 weeks. And
we all do. But that's where it's tough to get in.
If he has a 3 reception for 80 yards and a touchdown week this week, then it's just get a first. There's no you can't lose that trade if you get a first for him. You really can't. So I think always know when to sell high and when to hold and predict and make that bet that someone's going to gain value.
Of course.
I think he looks great this year.
I made this trade the other day, and Alec Pierce has 38.1 fantasy points. I traded Pierce in a third for a second. It's just process over results.
That's going to be Adonai Mitchell soon. Once Josh Downs comes back.
Once
Buy
Downs
AD
is back.
Mitchell. He's wide receiver 1 in Indy, baby.
You mentioned Derek Carr is playing really well. Rashid Shaheed has 37.2 fantasy points as the wide receiver 9 at this point. And I'm not saying he's a top 10 wide receiver, but I mean, he seems to be the guy that Derek Carr's locking onto. I'm willing to pay a late second right now. I don't know about you. Like if I have a team that Cooper Kupp went down to injury, AJ Brown's out, like I'm missing guys left and right, Puka. I think Rashid Shaheed is a cheap fill-in, and he's young, he's explosive, and I think he's finally putting it all together.
Yeah, he's another one of those. He's like that JMO light, that worthy light. He's not on those guys' levels, but he's just one of those.
You give a roster clogger in a third, and you're fine.
He's one of those speedy guys in the hands of a great offensive coordinator and Clint Kubiak that's dialing up these deep route concepts. He's getting open and he's getting the ball. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be hard sometimes, right? Like they're running the ball well. I mean, Kamara's averaged 5.5 yards per carry through the first 2 weeks. They're really opening up that deep ball opportunity there. They're getting that play action established. Troy Fatanu's looking great out there. Cesar Ruiz, their offensive line's actually working. That's the thing with them. Like, I wish they had Ryan Ramczyk. I think it would be one of the better offensive lines right now in football, because it was horrible last year with injuries. But I think they're really starting to mesh well together. And those run concepts, I watched every play, every snap of that game from Kamara, and they were just really putting together some good concepts and utilizing his strengths as a runner. And it was good to see. So I think that helps Carr, that helps Shaheed, that helps Olave, that helps everybody. But I don't know. I think Derek Carr's Linsanity run's probably going to end soon. But I think they'll still be a solid offense, and they're probably going to win that division or get close to it.
Yeah. We're going to go game by game here, but before we do that, we got a bunch of questions already on here, and I love when you guys do this on YouTube. Right now, no better time than to join the Patreon or the YouTube. We are giving away, boom, the DJ Moore autographed jersey from Pristine Auction. It is sexy. All you got to do is go into #SmashMoreSeptember. Snoog and I are posting it every single day. We're going to give it away October 1st on the podcast. But Snoog, you nailed it last week when you were talking about what the Patreon Discord really is, right? A lot of guys are saying, well, everyone has their own Patreon. They're like, look, you can see our rankings. Look, you can see this. But what really separates ours, is the way that you've set it up. And I want you to let me know, exactly how you said it last time, because that was beautiful, man.
Yeah. So basically, we built out this large Discord community with multiple channels. It's broken up. It's all categorized. It's organized in there. But Dad has his section, all his rankings, all his advice, his chat with Dad section where you can just reach out to him, ask him any advice you need, start sits, trade advice, all that good stuff, redraft rankings, all that. And same with me in a whole other section. And it's literally like Slack for those that don't know what Discord. It's just a channel down. It's a channel down the whole left-hand side of the screen with all the channels that you can click into and just participate, chat, do whatever in there. There's fantasy football chat sections. There's trade advice sections, just generalized to the whole community. We got 400 plus people in there talking shop 24/7. But we also have some for the more higher up tiers. We have rebuild sections, roster construction sections, and we do a ton of work in there just building stuff out as we go. So there's still so much that's coming, but Dad's just done a great job. He's going to build out more of that, 1 year punt, roster construction, when to rebuild, when to contend, good
and
buys.
That's what a majority guys in there DM
put
me
in dynasty buys weekly or monthly. I like to put in some buys. I put in some sells. We like to do this. We put a voids in the redraft. We do everything fantasy football related.
We got Jack Donahue. He said, hey, you guys have helped me to start 2-0 in my first Dynasty League. Would you trade Kincaid, Tank, and 2 seconds for McBride and Saquon? Smash. McBride is the only guy that McBride is the only tight end where you said, hey, were you doing straight up from Bowers? He would be the only guy I would consider even questioning that. And then you get Saquon. And then we got Chief 22 says, hey, you ready to sell Laporta for Bowers straight up? Yes. I think you can still get it.
I would have did it before the season.
Before the season, we said a 1-2 swap.
Yeah.
But now
you didn't have to do it straight up.
There's no swap. There's no swap. Forced. You know what I mean? Got my man George here from Twitter. Would you guys drop Terry McLaurin or Rome Odunze for Quentin Johnston or Jordan Whittington? I would not for Whittington. I'm getting really close to considering dropping Rome for Quentin Johnston. I know that's going to sound wild to some people, but I think you hit it on the last show talking about that Bears offense. Give it a little bit though. give it a little bit. So I want to go game by game, and I just want to hit on a riser. I want to get your opinions, and we got to kind of go a little bit more rapid fire because we're trying to bring you as many shows as possible. But Snoog and I are grinding. Bills Dolphins. James Cook is a riser. You know what I mean? Whether you love him or you hate him, he is a beast in this offense. Ray Davis is the guy to hold, but I think this is an offense that looks just like Greg Norman's Ravens, right? An elite level rushing quarterback with a solid tight end, but it's going to be predicated on the run, and then they're going to spread the ball around. I like Shakir, but I think James Cook is now worth a first, and he's inside my top 10 dynasty running backs.
I think Kincaid bounces back. I really do think he's going to have a good year. I think it's just slow. They're getting things figured out with him, but he looks so talented. He's so good. He gets open. They were getting him involved early on, and then he got absolutely donkey kicked in the head and got removed with like some sort of concussion. So I think they were going easy on him after that. But Kincaid buy low, I think. Josh Allen, obviously massive riser, probably MVP candidate. And then James Cook, I was wrong about. I was low on him. I said fade him in redraft. I said sell him in Dynasty. My concept in Dynasty of trading him for Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon plus, absolutely banger. But fading him in redraft, I was wrong. So I think from the Dolphins, guy that proved me wrong early on.
Dolphins side, I'm gonna hold on to Tyreek Hill, but I'm trying to sell Jalen Waddle. You got to tear down right now from Jalen Waddle or tear yourself up. Going to the 49ers Vikings, biggest riser, and it's not even debatable, is Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is a guy that you should be going and buying for a second because you're at some point, even when Christian McCaffrey comes back, this Achilles is something that could just bother him for a long time. So I mean, he's a big buy, and George Kittle.
Debo out, I think CMC out. I think George Kittle has tight end one overall upside rest of the season. He's going to be a touchdown a game. He's going to put up crazy numbers. Brock Purdy feeds him. Fire me up because George Kittle. I need that George Kittle jersey because he's one of my most owned dynasty tight end. Been pounding the drum for him.
All right. Benny Raguva says, hey, man, redraft. Would you trade away Dobbins for Pickens? I got Henry, Connor, Mason. Wide receivers are Chase, Neighbors, Godwin. Dude, I really like what I'm seeing from Dobbins. It's so hard to get those running backs. I think Pickens is going to be fantastic, but you have three guys there. I can see it either way on this one. Snoop, would you take Dobbins or Pickens? On the weekly, I play Dobbins over him right now, but I think Pickens is going to get him.
Yeah, but I think I'd take Pickens just with the injury history with Dobbins and the upside that Pickens has even in this offense. I think I'd go with George Pickens here.
Next game, Seahawks Patriots. Biggest riser for me is that entire Seattle offense. DK Metcalf is going to be a wide receiver 1. Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be a wide receiver 2. Whoever the running back is, because even if you don't like Charbonnet, he's going to be volume-driven RB2. He put up 21 points last week. Kenneth Walker, this offense is fun now.
Yeah, I agree. I think buy low on Kenneth Walker right now. Like I think that's the thing you do because I think the injury's scaring a lot of people. That's such a win your league type of move to make right now. Is if you could buy him, he misses.
It might be 2 weeks,
maybe the week after, and then it's like he's back and he's dropping 20 bombs again. Because I don't think it's too. I think he said he was fine after it, but they want to be cautious with it. So I think they're just playing it safe with him. But yeah, I think Kenneth Walker's gonna have a crazy good year if he's healthy and he comes back.
And if if you have Hawkinson or you have a tight end issue, Hunter Henry right now is tight end 5. He's been seeing a crazy target level. Him and Ramondre Stevenson are the only guys you're even debating playing from the Patriots. You want no Broncos, you want no Patriots, and low key, there's a couple other offenses we're going to talk about. We don't want to touch it. Next game, Giants Commanders. I mean, obviously the biggest risers are Malik Neighbors, you cannot buy anymore, but we've tried to tell you, the other thing is whoever plays the Commanders, that's your biggest buy because that's the quarterback you want to start. They're a lock for 25 fantasy points. This game didn't really have a lot really to add on to those things. I mean, I think Eckler and Brian Robinson are going to have weeks where you can start them, but not on the regular. I think
Brian Robinson is going to be touchdown or bust type. Like, I mean, he put up like 130 rushing yards and put up like 13 fantasy points. But I think they have a very good system with how they're using him and Eckler. I mean, he's put up back-to-back like solid 10-plus point weeks with good receiving utilization. But I think Brian Robinson's like that grinder that they're using more between the tackles and stuff. But Austin Eckler had a kick return touchdown. That was something cool to see, but it got pulled back with a flag. I didn't see it until I saw Twitter, which is crazy. They didn't show it on anything, but that was cool that he had like the kick return touchdown. So it's gonna be whoever scores the touchdown between those two every week is gonna be the one that outscores the other one. And it's
Chief
probably
20.
gonna be. Yeah,
Yep. Chief 22 wants to know Puka in my first for London and Olave. I have Marv, Wilson, Waddle, Higgins. Should I be concerned that Puka won't be the same when he is back? I'm not concerned that Puka's not the same with Cup.
Fine.
If that is a late first, I don't mind getting London and Olave, but if that's mid or even remotely close to there, I'm holding it. I'm going to take Puka in that first and kind of work from there. Next game, Chargers Panthers. Okay, Quentin Johnston, big time riser, but there's no bigger riser than J.K. Dobbins right now. J.K. Dobbins went from a guy you get thrown into deals where now he's costing you a 25-second, and the way that this offense looks with what he's been doing versus what Gus Edwards is doing, I think I'm buying. I mean, as a contender, why not throw a second at J.K. Dobbins? Because 95% of teams that own J.K. Dobbins, Snoog, they were rebuilders. They were guys that were just sitting there and holding him. I think I'm buying.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too, because I think he's going to be a guy that just keeps getting fed. I mean, he put up back-to-back 130-plus yard rushing games.
Mm-hmm.
The concepts that they're dialing in for that run scheme is just through the roof for him. And if he's healthy, if he's good to go, they're going to keep feeding him the ball. That's how Harbaugh works. That's how Roman works. They're going to feed the hot hand, and he's the hot hand. It's not Gus Edwards. So
yeah, for sure, man.
I like what I'm seeing from that offense. They're slowly building. Like you can see it coming together slowly, even though there's not a lot of good talent on that offense, but they're slowly starting to come together with Herbert there.
Yeah, Dobbins has had home runs, but he's also leading the league in 10-plus yard, rushes. So that's a big thing for consistency. People look and they see those long runs, but he's doing it consistently. Panthers side, disgusting. We've gone on Andy Dalton. Deontay Johnson, I think, is going to be fine this week, but I think that's it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of weird.
Sell Jonathan Brooks in Dynasty.
Yeah, I offered Olave and Jonathan Brooks for Garrett Wilson the other day.
He was always so.
We're starting to see that, but I think it's wait till this week, right? I think this week Andy Dalton's back. I think Chuba Hubbard. If Chuba goes over 100 and a touchdown, everybody's going to be like, "Oh, Brooks is going to be all right." Then you sell. Saints Cowboys. Man, so many rises for that Saints offense. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is the one you want to be buying. But I mean, Derek Carr's been serviceable. You know what I mean? So I think we're okay there.
Chris Olave buy low opportunity, I think.
He is. I think he's much better than he's played. Shahid's not going to outscore him for the entire season. Packers Colts. I think there's not a lot of risers in this game. I was really surprised with how well Malik Willis held onto the ball. Like I thought he was going to throw a ton of incompletions, but he did well. Josh Jacobs is going to just continue to carry 25 plus times until Jordan Love's back. The nice part is they're saying Jordan Love by week 5. So buy low on Jordan Love if you can, if people are being impatient. Not a lot to be excited about here. And I'm also I'm selling Jonathan Taylor. Like if I can get Jonathan Taylor to A-chain or even tier down to some of these other guys, it's production, man. Like I think you can get Alvin Kamara in a first for Jonathan Taylor, and I'm doing it.
Yeah, JT's
I think you can
touchdown or bust at this point. He gets 110 rushing yards, has a great game, and he puts up 11 fantasy points. It's just like
I don't love it. Jaguars, Browns, another one. Not a lot of risers in this game. To me, Brian Thomas Jr. is the only one. I don't really want to touch anybody in that Browns offense until it starts to click. Jaguars are the same way, but Brian Thomas Jr. has looked really sharp. Not a lot to talk about in that one. Jets, Titans. I think we're going to see. I mean, a lot of people thought that Breece Hall was conceding carries to Braylon Allen. He was hurt. He came out of the game for a little bit. He was bothered. But Braylon Allen looks sharp. He's a premier handcuff, someone that you got to load up on. Garrett's about to break out. Make sure you buy low on him. And I like Calvin Ridley. I like Calvin Ridley in this Titans offense. And Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard looks sharp. Like he plays the Green Bay this week, who's been thrashed mightily. So I think Pollard's going to be a back-end RB1 for this particular week. Bucks Lions. Man, Baker's ascending, but Chris Godwin is just Snoog. You paying a 25 first for Godwin yet?
I think you can get someone better for a 25 first, but I would do everything I can to try to get him on my roster.
Who's the best wide receiver? He's the wide receiver 1 right now, but who's the best wide receiver you think you can get for just a random to late 25 first?
It's so dependent on league by league. Like in a lot of the sharper leagues where people value those firsts so highly.
Mm-hmm.
You can get like top 20 wide receivers in Dynasty, like easy.
Yeah.
Like I people are selling like Devontae Smiths and those type of guys for like a first and a second. Like if you
Yeah,
get,
no, I'll smash that.
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, I would rather go Smith route and add than go
Yeah.
Godwin straight up. Like
Raiders, Ravens, no bigger riser than Brock Bowers. Dynasty tight end one right there. You know what I mean? I think it's just him and McBride in a tier of their own at this point. Maybe Laporte is still in that area, but I think this is an offense that literally, I mean, it's in some games it's going to have enough for Brock and Adams, but it looks like Brock's the number one target there. And it's just, that's what we wanted to see, but we didn't know with Devontae there. That's a clear thing now. And Zay Flowers is on the rise for sure. Buy low on both of those guys. Rams, Cardinals, we already talked about. A lot of people are talking about Kyren Williams. And they're like, man, I think you got to sell high on Kyren Williams. He is rushing at 2.3 yards per carry at this point,
Snoop. Looks like crap.
He scored a touchdown in both weeks, or he's well outside the top 12. I saw, Calvin Ridley in a first for him the other day. I saw someone get Brian Thomas Jr. straight up. I feel like the time is now, because if you miss out on it, I think you can get James Conner in a first even though James Conner is biggest riser for the Cardinals. I mean, Conner, Kyler, McBride, Marvin, it was all working. Bengals, Chiefs.
Yeah, it's also not going in Kyron's favor either that Puka and Kupp are out now. So it's going to
100%.
They're not going to be able to move the ball that well. I mean, Stafford's still like an elite Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. So I could see them still getting opportunities and shocking people. But, I mean, Kyron's just touchdown or bust unless he starts getting a ton of checkdowns. But
Bengals, Chiefs, biggest risers, Rice. Biggest faller's got to be Travis Kelce. 39 yards in 2 weeks. If you can still get him. Someone the other day told me that they got offered Kelce in a second for Bowers. I'm like, well, then you go get Brock Bowers. Just stop. I would add a first to Kelce to get to Brock Bowers at this point. Don't play games. Bengals hopefully get T. Higgins back. They got a big-time opportunity here against the Commanders. Steelers, Broncos. Gross.
George Pickens, and George Pickens.
Yeah, I think this offense is going to get a little bit more fun. He had 2 touchdowns reversed. I think Fields
110 yards.
Yeah, Fields is slowly getting better. Like he's just taking care of the ball, but he's not. It's not sexy like it was in Chicago where it was 180 rushing yards and running all over the place. But
I think Tomlin's like, if you want to be our starter, you're going to run our offense. Like that's how it is. So
Broncos. I'm not. I think I'm
not a single player.
I would
Don't
hold.
Even say it.
I would hold Javonte Williams, but I'm not starting anybody.
They all stink.
They play Carolina.
People were trying to gas up the damn Broncos this offseason. They all stink.
Sunday night, Bears, Texans. Nico Collins, biggest riser for sure. Buy low on CJ Stroud because he has not put up big numbers. Joe Mixon came out with the injury, so you have an opportunity here to buy low. Cam Akers is a guy to get thrown into deals because he's actually looked pretty sharp in a reserved role. Bears, let's just temper expectations here for a little bit. Take them all out of your lineup except DJ Moore. More you can put in there as your flex.
Trade everybody in that offense other than Caleb, honestly.
Falcons, Eagles. Bijan is who we thought he was. Drake London had a good game. Kyle Pitts is officially dead. Eagles side, Saquon's doing Saquon things, and Devonta Smith, big-time riser with A.J. Brown potentially having that lingering hamstring.
I would love to see Drake London get more utilized.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to come with time, with Kirk getting used to things, getting used to the playbook, getting used to playing off that Achilles injury. But Drake London was getting open a lot. He was looking good. I just want to see the ball come his way more. He should not leave a game without 8 to 10 targets. And they realized that, and they started to get him more and more involved. I mean, he had that game-winning touchdown, created a ton of separation. He got open a couple times. They were using him a lot underneath within 10 yards. I want to see them use him more on those deep crossers. I want to see more 50-50 balls. Throw that ball up. He'll go up and get that. So I think Drake London, tough matchup next week against KC, probably struggles. But, he's got Carolina twice. He's got the Bucs twice. He's got some of these other Carolina's the worst team, but the Bucs are a good team. Saints are a good team, but they're not the best defense in the NFL. So I think he'll have some decent matchups this year to kind of put things together, build that chemistry with Kirk Cousins.
Cousins is a buy low. We have Pitts big week incoming. And if I can deal Pitts to anybody, if I can get Pitts to Kincaid, I'm going to do it. If I can get Pitts, I think if Pitts to Bowers is not up, I think you can get plus on the Kittle side there. So, we've never been a big Kyle Pitts guy on the show. We wanted to get you a quick hitter show, just talk about who's rising, who's going that way. Snoog, if there's one guy you can buy before week 3, who you know is going to go up in value, who is it?
Expensive Garrett Wilson. Cheap Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne's gonna he has like the hardest like first 4 weeks against defenses, but then things are gonna start to get easy for him, I think. But he's just a guy that has touchdown upside every week. He's a workhorse. He's getting receiving work as well. Bigsby lasted a week. He'll probably be a 30% guy, 25% guy. He's gonna get 6 to 8 touches on the ground. It's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. Etienne's going to be like 70% most of the games, and he's going to get all the receiving and rushing work. And then a cheap dart throw out there. 2 guys I'm buying low on, Dontavian Wicks, Adonai Mitchell. I think Wicks is slowly going to become that wide receiver 1 in Green Bay. I mean, and he was this week, so.
I love it. For me, I'm buying Brian Thomas Jr. On the cheap, I'm buying Calvin Ridley. Running backs, man, no better filler right now than J.K. Dobbins or Jordan Mason. So I'm buying cheap on both of those guys. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process. I got 2 minutes to get to work.